Has anyone noticed that Ganyu is also wearing red ropes tied into knots throughout her outfit? With the recent release of Shenhe, we've been informed that the red ropes that Cloud Retainer placed on her had a very specific purpose. This got me thinking because I main Ganyu and noticed that she's also wearing these red ropes. So is Ganyu also a closeted homicidal maniac ready to explode once these red ropes are taking off of her? Or is something else happening here? This is a little psychology in Teyvat. I want to begin with what we know in-game. Cloud Retainer explains the red ropes like this.
Mooncarver once performed a divination for her. He declared that her fate is to bear the curse of calamity. Consumed by malevolent energy, she is prone to bring harm to those around her. Such is the magnitude of the danger this poses, that her soul must be bound with red ropes to keep her homicidal instinct at bay. The red ropes have indeed served to keep her calmer and more content. They also seem to have rendered her somewhat inexpressive. Perhaps the red ropes are so powerful that they have suppressed some of her other emotions as well.
And later on, in an abandoned village, likely Shenhe's hometown, Shenhe describes her situation like this.
I don't know what I feel. I'm told my fate is to bear the curse of calamity, so my master bound my soul with red ropes to curb my aggression. But it also dampened my emotions, making me dispassionate, like the Adepti. So if you ask me how I feel about the past, if I hate my father or not, the truth is, I feel nothing at all.
This is pretty much all we know about the red ropes in-game. Cloud Retainer does have a few voiceovers that mention the ropes, but they're pretty much covering the same stuff that was said earlier. It would seem as though on the surface, we're just meant to understand that Shenhe has an unstable aggression, and that is held down by these red ropes. Because ropes, traditionally, tie things down, right? Get it? But if this is the case, then why is Ganyu also wearing these red ropes? She does not appear to have any dialogue or voiceovers commenting on them, so what gives? I immediately thought that this might have just been a design choice, that they may have accidentally put red ropes on Ganyu as a style, while Shenhe's ropes have more lore significance. But as I started learning more about the red ropes and what they symbolize in Chinese culture, I began to unravel something that really changed my outlook on Shenhe's story. So forgive me for deceiving you, but this is probably more of a Shenhe than a Ganyu video. Take a second and look at the ropes themselves on either of these two characters. And yes, I'm giving you permission to stare longingly and awkwardly at these two. It's okay. Everyone has already done it. In fact, you've probably already done it countless times too. Anyways, did you notice anything similar or different? I know, it's hard not to just stare and enjoy. Both Shenhe and Ganyu's red ropes cross each other along their lower backs, but that's where the similarities end. It's difficult to make out if there is a noticeable beginning and end to these red ropes, which is interesting because, according to Chinese culture, having a beginning and an end is actually quite important to their function. The ends of the red ropes are typically constructed into tassels, from what I can see. Ganyu's red ropes begin around the back of her neck, somehow reaching down across her lower back, and then curl back around to her left hip, where they are tied together into a 4-petaled clover knot and adorned with her cryovision. Shenhe would appear to have several red ropes, one tied around her hair into a traditional bow and adorned with her cryovision. The other is wrapped around the back of her neck, around the outer side of her arms, into a cross on her lower back like Ganyu, and finally into the hip window thingies. There are also tassels hanging from the flap of the fabric covering her chest area, and there are 3-petaled knots all along her body, most notably one on each of her hips, one on the right side of her upper chest, and one directly in the middle above her stomach, which may actually just be tightening her inner bodysuit due to the 2 folds that are present. Oh, I also forgot about the 2 4-petaled knots wrapped around Ganyu's ankles. This might be important later? I actually can't believe I'm analyzing virtual waifu attire this closely. What has this channel become? Anyways, even though they are wearing red ropes in different locations, the ropes themselves still appear to at least orientationally function in a similar manner. So how do we explain the obvious differences between Shenhe and Ganyu's personalities in their stories in relation to the red ropes? After doing some research, and I should begin first and foremost by saying that I'm not an expert at this, so if any of you have any more insight to add, please jot it down in the comments. But knowing that how red ropes function in Chinese culture may actually shed some light into the true nature of Shenhe and Ganyu's outfits, as well as Cloud Retainer and the other Adeptus' methods. The truth of the matter is that the way that Cloud Retainer explains what the red ropes do is not 100% consistent. She, alongside Shenhe herself, tell us that the red ropes suppress Shenhe's homicidal nature. But according to Chinese culture, red ropes are actually a sign of good fortune, especially when paired with the color red. And to be more specific, it's not actually the ropes that have this function, but rather the knots that the ropes are woven into. Both Ganyu and Shenhe have specific knots woven into their red ropes. Ganyu specifically only has 4-petaled knots, one located under her vision and one around each of her ankles. Shenhe, on the other hand, has 3-petaled knots that are adorned all over her body. There's also a knot tying her hair together in the shape of a butterfly. I was really hoping to find a distinction between the 3 and 4-petaled knot versions, but both appear to have the same meaning: fortune and good luck. So why then are these ropes or knots responsible for the suppression of Shenhe's more aggressive side? Because I think we can all agree that Ganyu has received a great fortune and good luck from being arguably the most powerful and flexible character in Genshin Impact. The only way I can reconcile why both Shenhe and Ganyu have red ropes and knots, but seemingly have wildly different reasons for them, comes from a voiceover from Shenhe that I know a lot of the Genshin players were against when she was first released, and her voiceovers were data mined. If you get her to friendship level 6, you can hear her say this about the red ropes.
My master gave me these red ropes in order to restrain my impulses. But during our journey together, I feel I have finally grasped the key to all of this. Somehow, controlling my strength, knowing when to restrain myself and when to unleash, it comes more naturally to me now. I think that what saves me from myself is not my red ropes, but you. If you understand what that means to me, please stay by my side.
This is a very interesting line because it dismisses the red ropes for doing anything at all, which would, in my opinion, restore the original cultural purpose of the red ropes. They, in a way, act as a countermeasure to Shenhe's negative energy by injecting good luck and fortune. However, I think that it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that the red ropes are actually producing the placebo effect in Shenhe. Now, this is not to say that the Adepti are purposefully using placebo effect to stop a homicidal individual in Teyvat, which would be incredibly dangerous, and I do believe that they instilled some kind of power into Shenhe's red ropes specifically, but give me benefit of the doubt because I do not disagree that I'm reaching hard to explain a seemingly unexplainable inconsistency. It's likely the case that Ganyu's red ropes are simply a design choice because Shenhe's story had yet to be finalized at Ganyu's creation. But I think being able to come up with a consistent reason is beneficial for us players. Placebo effect, for those that don't know, is when one uses a substance or treatment that is designed to have no biological or therapeutic effect on an individual. It is, however, the individual's belief that they did receive a substance or treatment designed to help them, that their illness is either abated or healed. If you've taken a psychology course, then you've likely studied this placebo effect in people being given sugar pills instead of pills with actual medication in them to test whether or not a treatment is effective or if it is simply the body healing itself. Two groups are typically used where one is given a sugar pill or an inactive drug, while the other is given actual drugs. In Genshin Impact, Shenhe begins to conclude that it is not the Red Ropes protecting her, but her relationships that pin her negative tendencies back. Likely her relationship with the other Adepti, specifically Cloud Retainer, was what sustained her until now, and then, of course, as she tells us, her journey with the Traveler, even though I would honestly argue the Archon quest did not convey this very well.
Yes. I can't explain it, but I feel happier than I expected.
Good. Traveler, please take good care of Shenhe. She is a dear child.
This does not mean that the Red Ropes did not have a purpose. On the contrary, they provided Shenhe with an anchor point to believe that while these ropes were attached to her person, she would remain in control. Perhaps the Adepti were unsure as to how to deal with her tendencies and resorted to this method as a last resort. And there you have it, my attempt at reconciling Shenhe and Ganyu's Red Ropes using psychology. What do you think? Does this theory hold weight, or do you have another idea as to why they are both wearing red ropes? Perhaps Ganyu really is a closeted homicidal maniac too, but is really good at hiding it. And maybe in the future, we'll get to see Shenhe and how she acts when her control is lost and her original nature resurfaces in a future character quest. One can only imagine. If you enjoyed this psychoanalysis, please like this video and subscribe to the channel as it helps get it to more people, and share it with your fellow Genshin players and content creators. And thank you for visiting A Little Psychology in Teyvat.
Hey, my name's Pino. That's not true. Stupid questions. Why would you ask that? No way. Just try on. We're being unchild. Mark my words. Vengeance will be mine. Paimon's all out of brain juice again.